بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نبدأ على بركة الله الجلسة الخامسة، الذهب وتطبيقاته في الصناعة المالية الإسلامية، معيار أيوفي الشرعي، بالتعاون مع مجلس الذهب العالمي وآثاره المتوقعة. اسمحوا لنا أن ندعو صاحب الفضيلة الشيخ الأستاذ الدكتور محمد علي القري، عضو مجلس أمناء أيوفي، رئيس وعضو الهيئات الشرعية للمؤسسات المالية الإسلامية حول العالم، فليتفضل لرئاسة الجلسة. كما ندعو المتحدثون فضيلة الشيخ الأستاذ الدكتور محمد داود بكر، رئيس الهيئة الشرعية لبنك ماليزيا المركزي، رئيس وعضو الهيئات الشرعية للمؤسسات المالية الإسلامية حول العالم. Your Excellency Mr. Aram Shishmanian, Chief Executive Officer World Gold Council، وسعادة الأستاذ رجب محمد حمد، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة سبائك. Mr. Chairman, the stage is yours.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستغفره ونستعينه ونستهديه ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته، ونساله تعالى التوفيق والسداد. ونفتتح هذه الجلسه المخصصه بموضوع الذهب وتطبيقاته في الصناعه الماليه الاسلاميه، وما يتعلق بمعيار أيوفي الشرعي بالتعاون مع مجلس الذهب العالمي. المشاركون في هذه الجلسة متحدثون ومعقبون. عندنا فضيلة الشيخ الدكتور داتو محمد داود بكر، وسعادة الأستاذ أرام شيماشنيان. Did I pronounce your name correct? شيشمانيان. Okay. الرئيس التنفيذي لمجلس الذهب العالمي. والمعقبون هم فضيلة الشيخ الأستاذ الدكتور عبد الستار أبو غدة وسعادة الأستاذ رجب محمد. فلنبدأ بالمتحدث الأول دكتور داتو محمد داود بكر، وفي 20 دقيقة. طبعا نحن بدأنا متأخرون، فنقتص ممن سيأتي بعدنا بأخذ بعض الوقت المخصص له إن شاء الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وبه نستعين، ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الأمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Give me great pleasure to say a few words on Sharia standard on gold to be issued by the Ayofi in the next few weeks. I have to put on record my appreciation to the Central Bank of Bahrain, as well as the organizers, the World Bank and the Ayofi, and all the sponsors for having me on the stage to speak on a very important, not only standard, but also an asset class, which is very dear and close to our heart. As we have seen, the global market has changed, where in the interest banking system, there's no more interest to be paid to the depositor. Perhaps gold has become the alternative. Nowadays, the deposit of the bank in some countries have no return at all, and sometimes negative return. And gold has been there as a good kind of alternative. The only problem in our community, in fact, in the Sharia standard of gold, we have assumed too much that gold is a bad asset from the riba perspective. no one is daring enough to take the challenge to look into gold and how to make gold an important asset, not only for the investment, for trading, for production, for risk management, for Basel III under liquidity coverage ratio, LCR, and so on and so forth. So gold has been neglected even by our own community. In fact, before my company Amani was appointed by the World Gold Council, Mr. Aram is the CEO of the World Gold Council, we thought that there's no point of having a standalone standard because we can put in two lines. It should be spot, it should be of equal. At-tasawi wa taqabud. And we can solve the whole thing about gold. That has been our thinking process, which is not the case when we have embarked on the research. We have found that gold can be developed further, and gold has so many intricate and complicated Sharia ruling that we have to put in one place. And that was the result of the Sharia standard being developed by Ayufi in collaboration with the World Gold Council. So it can contribute to the market. We cannot take things for granted. The lesson from this standard, we cannot take things for granted. We have to take everything seriously, and we have to put the mind, perhaps the thinking process, and the seriousness of developing a standard for our Islamic financial community. There are many other standards which we have not yet even thought of because we thought they are so far from our community, Islamic financial community. And this has been the, if you like, the wake-up call for everyone to consider, to look around and try to bring the world to us and not the other way around. Because we cannot be trapped in our own Sharia cocoon, Sharia parameter without going out and try to invite as many international world-class players to Islamic financial community. And the World Gold Council has taken the initiative, the first initiative in the world, and Ayufi has also taken the first initiative of working together to make it happen. So I think a big word of congratulations for both Ayufi and the World Gold Council of working together from the industry perspective as well as from the Sharia standard setting body of the world. And both are of international in character. This is the first part of my presentation. There's no need for me to click the slide. The full paper will be uploaded later on. The second section, why is this Sharia standard on gold timely and game changer? Okay, we need to have game changer in our community. We have seen how the plastic industry has revolutionized the whole market. We need the plastic to replace so many things. We have seen the nanotechnology. We have seen the internet has not only improved but challenged our humanity as we go on. So the Sharia standard on gold, from my perspective, is a game changer given the market condition, given the preconceived idea that we have, even among the scholars themselves, that gold is very restricted, cannot be used except for certain purposes. Whereas Allah has created gold as the backbone of the civilization. Allah has mentioned about gold many, many times. It would not be illogical for Allah to mention something which is great, but the focus and the intention and the product development is very small, relatively speaking. The time is also perfect because we are working together. The World Gold Council providing the data, the pattern, the standard of the world, the production, mining, environment, the warehousing, the quality. We need these people to come and help, this agency to come and help us to put the best of the best on the Sharia flavor and standard. We cannot be working in isolation. Can we? We can't. We have to work and live together in our current time. This standard will benefit not only the people like us, the investor, the banks, but also the whole value chain of the gold production, from the miners, from the equipment, technology, from the transportation, from the crafters, the workmanship, from the products, Sukuk, ETF, deposit product, the Basel III, the liquidity requirement under LCR, and also the other agencies to support the industry of gold. So gold has been the darling, if you like, of the day, because it's very important, it's very relevant, and the time somehow has come for us to look into gold in a more serious manner. The same goes to Ayufi itself. We have developed more than 50 standards, and the gold standard would be almost 57, if I'm not mistaken. We have not used our own standard to support the product. We have all the standard on the partnership, on the sale, on the position, agency, wa'ad. Wa'ad is not yet, it's coming. But we have not put this principle into use. Gold will come and take all the principle in one place. This is what I'm trying to impress on you. The Sharia standard on gold is a stand-alone standard for the first time ever in the history of Ayufi, because we are putting all the Sharia principle under one standard. It will be easy for the regulators, for the quality standard body, for the bankers to deal with the gold standard moving forward. It is a game changer even for the IOFI. I mean, we cannot reinvent the wheel. We just continue from where people stop. Nabda mimma intaha bihi al-akharun, as said in Arabic term. So we have to leverage on the technical expertise of of the World Gold Council. I call it in a very joke manner, we have to create the new fiqh, the new jurisprudence, fiqh al-leverage. We have to leverage on everything that we have to create new products and standards in the market. And this collaborative effort between IOFI and the WGC would push not only these two entities, but the other marketplace in the market, those who are following the gold industry from the miners all the way to producers, the financial product, the platform will come in, and they will be looking and following what's next for them to be part of Islamic financial world. And this is something we cannot take for granted. The next section, methodological observation on the IOFI Sharia standard on gold. If you have the chance to look into the exposure draft of the Sharia standard, you might find a very interesting observation. I will share some of them. Given the time that I have, it's not proper for me to go through the 15 pages of the standard. It's too thick to discuss. The first thing, it is a standalone standard. The IOFI has taken the liberty to put as many Sharia principles in one standard, covering the issue of rohan, collateral, the issue of hami jiddiyah, urbun, the issue of muqasa, set-off, partnership, the screening or the share of the gold companies, the issue of exchange of spot and deferred and what have you. So everything has been put in one Sharia standard. By bringing in the other supporting contracts into one, one standard called Sharia standard on gold. And we have seen also the influence, the support by WGC. We have not defined the goal in our standard. We want the market to refer to the very definition by the proper authority. And the proper authority is the WGC, the World Gold Council. In our definition of ta'rif, of the definition of gold, what the IFI has said, gold is the known, precious, natural metal, which is very common sense to everyone. Everyone knows gold is the precious metal, and full stop, because we have to refer them to the very definition of gold as prescribed by the authority in the world, which is by WGC. However, we have spent some of the section of the standard covering in detail the Sharia peculiarities, the very special ruling of gold in Islamic perspective, section 332, section 332, and I don't think I can go on, but just to give you the flavor, under this section we discuss about the issue of gold which is mixed with some other substance and metal. Gold mixed with silver and being exchanged for pure gold, or being exchanged for silver and different carats involved from 24, 21, 18. What are the Sharia ruling on this particular perspective? I have mentioned this in detail and with some commentary from the Sharia perspective on page 5 in my paper. Among others, the Sharia standard take the view, if the component of the gold is below than 50% in any mixed asset, it is not deemed to be a gold, except when it is exchanged for another gold or silver or money. It should be on spot basis. There's no requirement of tasawi or equality. So this is one of the takeaway, if you like, from this standard. The others are very technical stuff, and they are very much interesting. For the first time ever, in the public, we are confused. Even scholars sometimes are not so sure how to answer the question from the public. The standard provides all the detailed answers for each and every possible transaction in the society, under section 332, if you like to refer. Next section, what can we expect from this Sharia standard on gold? At-tawaqqu'at wal-amal al-marjuwah. I mean, what can we have spent about 100 hours of time at the subcommittee level of Ayufi, at the Majlis Syar'i, the Sharia board of Ayufi, discussing this standard thoroughly and in detail. This is a valid question. What can we expect? We do want to put a standard which is of no use. We have no time for that. We have to come to the market, bring the standard which can be used next day. This is the function of the standard setting body of the world. Number one is to dispel and to remove the misunderstanding, and perhaps, if I can say, the conservatism thinking of some scholars. Because scholars who are not trained in financial matter, they are very conservative about dealing with gold. The first fatwa will be coming from them. It's not permissible. You have to avoid any transaction using gold, either ETF or sukuk, asset management, risk management. Avoid it. So we have to dispel, we have to remove. It's not good to be conservative all the time. When we have the dalil, when we have the nas, when we have the fatwa of the scholars, so be it. Follow the guidance of Allah and not the guidance of your emotion and your own self-conceived idea. Number two, we need to clearly define what can be done, what cannot be done. And this is the job of the Sharia standard. Even in the case of prohibited item, like riba, gharar, we have to tell the whole world what do we mean by riba and gharar. The same goes to gold. We have to define what can be done and what cannot be done when we deal with gold in many other products in the financial world. And this is something that this standard can help to put the fingerprint on the financial transaction. The third one is to create value-added economic benefit for the researchers, for the scholars, for the first time ever, for them to understand more of the goal, which was not, in existence in the past how many centuries. The knowledge is scattered. We have discussed about gold in many other books. All the scholars in the past, mashallah, they're very technical, they're very deep, they're very articulative, but they are scattered. They are haphazard. We are trying to bring them to one particular standard. Subsequent to that, we can create more products. As we speak today, after the announcement by WGC and Ayufi in many other press and media statement in the world, people are coming to both Ayufi and WGC asking about this interesting news because they wanted to be part of the Sharia movement of Sharia products with regard to gold. The product development is coming. We have seen myself the MasterCard and Visa card based on gold, backed by the real value of gold. We have seen the internet platform selling gold on spot, of course T+2. And T+2 is something that we're going to discuss in the standard. How are we going to define the spot transaction? So this is something never happened before, going to happen, inshallah, when we have the Sharia standard officially launched in the next few weeks or so. The last one under this aspect is my own personal impression. We have to make Islamic finance the mainstream of the community. Many thought that mainstream is to give the product to the market, to our community, make it available, affordable, easy to understand. It's not good enough. Mainstreaming, from my perspective, is to bring the Sharia standard to the world and to bring the world to our Sharia standard. This is the meaning of mainstreaming, to make it Islamic finance not a foreign industry. It is there in everywhere, in trade financing, UCP 600, in gold, perhaps in some other community, in environment, in humanity, in corporate governance, corruption-free movement. Everything that the world is talking about, we have some say in that particular arrangement. The last one, Mr. Chairman, if I can say, Sharia standard and the technical standard of the world. Sharia standard has been there for many, many years, our own standard of Ayofi, but we have not engaged seriously many other players of the world. To disengage is easy. To engage is much more difficult. And both Ayofi and WGC has shown the way that engagement, though it is difficult, but it can be done. It was difficult initially, but it will be more easy when people are talking about the same lingo, same language, and same frequency moving forward. So take the challenge and try to make the Sharia in the mainstream of the world. In short, the IOFI and other relevant agencies in the financial space must also go out and engage with other international agencies to bring the understanding of Sharia to the discussion of everyone in the community at large. I think with that, I would like to thank you for your kind listening, and I hope to take any question, provided they are easy one. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
شكرا لفضيلة الدكتور داتو محمد داود بكر على هذا العرض المتميز وعلى الالتزام بالوقت. والآن المتحدث الثاني مستر أرام شيشمنيان. Right? Please. Podium is yours.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it really is a privilege for the World Gold Council and an honor for me particularly to speak to you amongst the very esteemed panelists with me, and also to be in partnership with Ayofi in developing the Sharia standard for gold. Their support for the World Gold Council and obviously for investors in Islamic finance has been extraordinary, and for that I greatly appreciate. We sometimes forget that gold has been with us for over 4,000 years. It has placed and has become an enduring factor in virtually every society around the world. And over 4,000 years ago, it was the first currency. It has been the means of protecting wealth for generations and centuries. It is a potent, potent emblem of success and of love of family, of love of children, of love of elders. And no more so than in Islamic finance, where gold for a long time has been a currency. There is, however, a but. In today's complex financial world, there is considerable uncertainty as to what gold's role should be in Islamic finance as an investment aspect. And as a consequence, much of the Islamic communities, not only in the Middle East but worldwide, have not been able to take the benefit that gold provides, the unique qualities that it has. Specifically, in terms of providing security and financial protection. This is increasingly an important matter in the extraordinary world that we live in today, the complexity of the financial system, the regulatory boundaries in which it operates, and not least, the new norm of huge economic, political uncertainty and instability that we face around the world. So it was for these reasons that the World Gold Council was absolutely delighted that Ayofi agreed to jointly prepare and develop the Sharia standard for gold for consideration by the scholars, to provide households, investors, definitive guidance as to the rules for investing in gold. Coincidentally, it comes at a time where Islamic finance is at its own crossroads. Today you represent over $2 trillion of assets, and that is, by every projection, going to explode. Yet the industry is faced with a number of constraints. The lack of depth and breadth of assets available for investors in Islamic communities. Increasing accessibility to gold can be one of the tools to help the growth of Islamic finance. Before I continue, it is probably worth referring to briefly the nature of the gold markets today. Everyone I meet in my travels around the world knows everything about gold. Unfortunately, most people I meet have very little understanding. So it's an amazing instrument that garners so much passion, yet not always well understood. First, the gold price, taking a short-term view, has increased by over 20% this year. It's actually increased by 50% in the investment markets. And to give you a feel for the markets, 10, 20 years ago, 80% of gold demand came from jewelry. That is no longer the case. Investment demand is becoming increasingly important given its qualities of security and confidence. Central banks are a huge influence and important buyer of gold, and technology uses, particularly every electronic device, in the use of gold in bonding wires. So it is a very diversified source of demand, unlike many other asset classes. It also operates in a very sensitive way. In the last few weeks, you've seen the uncertainty, increasing uncertainty of the US elections, and obviously of Britex a month or so ago. And the gold price immediately responded to that, which re-emphasizes its quality as a defensive measure. But give you some other factors. Gold has, over the past 10 years, gold has outperformed in many, many measures. It has outperformed currencies. It has outperformed Islamic financial indicators. It has outperformed Islamic-related currencies. The third point I draw your attention to is that the world of gold is not anymore driven by the Western markets of Europe and North America. Nearly 70% of the world demand for gold comes from India, China, and Southeast Asian countries. These countries represent over 500 million newly emerging middle-class professionals who have great propensity and belief in gold and are buying. The regulator, the central bank, the PBOC, the People's Bank of China, is actively supporting the ownership of gold in their country. The source of demand, therefore, is again hugely stable because it's not made up of a few investors. These are hundreds of millions of people owning gold. And that not just in China and India, as you can see, but with the growth of Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, South Korea, these too will grow. And for the first time in history, the Indian government is setting out policies, a coherent set of policies towards gold. These are fundamental shifts in the nature of the gold world. I would also remind you the gold supply is constant. It has been constant for a long time, and the production difference every year is no more than about 1%. The only variable is people who monetize their gold or sell their gold when the price goes up, because the stock of gold is about the size of 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Not a lot of gold in the world. In terms of contemporary finance, we have a major issue, and that is the increasing policies of central banks introducing negative interest rates. Nearly 40% of high-quality government bonds are trading at less than zero. It is these very bonds that the Western pension funds are holding to protect the future of their citizens. Yet they are now earning negative interest rates. It is fundamentally challenging the principle of economics. Quantitative easing, as we know, has exhausted it. New experiments are being pursued, as we can see. And probably the most uncertain thing for most investors, as these actions being taken have unknown consequences. One example, the largest pension fund in the world, a Japanese pension fund, last quarter lost $53 billion because they were overexposed to US equities and did not hold an allocation to gold. And last but very, very importantly, gold is central to central banks. It is used as a very important tool to protect the wealth of nations, but also as a reserve asset in their foreign currency management. Approximately 17% of all gold holdings in the world are held by central banks, and per annual demand is approximately 10%. But what is very important is that the overweight European countries who are holding about 90% of their gold, of their national reserves in gold in some cases, after the demise of the gold standard, started selling. But that stopped in 2000. And they made a very clear indicator that they believe in gold, they're not going to sell any more gold, while we see the BRIC countries, as well as emerging countries, buying as much gold now as was being sold before. A dynamic change. So what is this leading to? The consequences, given the macro environment that I know you talked about yesterday, is people are looking to gold as a way of security and financial protection. And we are beginning to see a new generation of investors entering the gold market, not least the pension fund industry. The US, for example, has $30 trillion in household investments, with very small, less than 1% allocation to gold. And we strongly believe, given what we see day to day, that this is going to change. It is with regret that I stand here and say that this is not the case of having access to gold in the Middle East. And I have to admit, from where the Gold Council stands, many Middle Eastern and many Islamic societies are not getting usage of gold. And let me evidence this. If you look over the last 20 years, the demand for gold, for what is called consumer gold, which includes bars and coins, has fallen in the Middle East. And I just picked the Middle East as one example, compared to India and China. More significantly, the gold industry has now developed the ability to buy and invest in gold through stock exchanges, which is physically allocated gold, which are known as ETFs. And as you can see in this chart, it follows the gold price very, very closely. It is the proxy for the gold industry in America, and is a very robust sector of the market. Yet it is absent in the Middle East. The region needs to find ways to help diversify from oil, as we know, and investors will need a wider choice of investable assets, which comes back to the standard. To address these challenges, we have been working with Ayofi to develop the standard. The standard has now been completed and is now going through consultations and subject to those reviews and approvals, we believe it will be launched in December this year. And that will be supported by a lot of detailed collateral about each product type that gold can be used as within Sharia standards, and will give guidance to banks as to how they can reclassify their existing products or build new products. We were uniquely privileged to do this because I'm very conscious that Ayofi has never considered third parties before. The World Gold Council is in its own right a world standard bearer and developer of standards for gold. We work regularly with the IMF, the World Bank, the SEC, the OECD, Basel, and the list goes on. So perhaps at this juncture to stop for a few minutes and tell you who the World Gold Council is. As I said, we develop standards ranging from conflict-free gold standards for gold mining through to product standards and working with central banks. We provide definitive information on what is going on in the market and market insights. And thirdly, we ensure the market infrastructure that gold is trading in is trusted and has integrity and transparency. We helped establish the Shanghai Gold Exchange. This year we launched the Chinese benchmark. We helped reform the London benchmark. We're currently reforming the London market. But also, and most importantly, we enable investors to hold gold. So we helped create the ETF industry, gold savings products, digital investment platforms, and the portfolio analytics for institutional investors. And of course, for central banks and government agencies, we are trusted advisors and educators. So going back to the standard, what is it likely to result in? Giving investors access to highly liquid and trusted products with absolute integrity, to serve as a catalyst for stimulating the continued growth of Islamic finance, and potentially, and I believe that will happen, a whole new wave of product innovation will come out of this for financial institutions serving their Islamic clients. So with the approval and launch in December, the Sharia standard on gold, Islamic investors worldwide will be able to make better and more trusted decisions that protect their financial futures, and to use gold's unique qualities. And of course you'd say, the World Gold Council would say it has unique qualities. So let me just suggest three with some evidence. The first, gold is the ultimate safe haven asset. A 4% allocation to gold could increase the performance of the underlying investment by over 200 basis points. To translate that, during the financial crisis, the subprime crisis, it was many, many millions of investors and hundreds of investors in Asia who protected their wealth by holding gold. There was no other asset that could have done that. There were periods during the subprime crisis that gold ETFs were larger than the US stock exchange in total. The second, it is a powerful diversifier of portfolios, given that it is highly uncorrelated to typical investment patterns. And this is showing an example against a number of Sharia standards, reflecting the lack of correlation that exists, which means holding a small allocation to gold increases the risk-weighted return of that investment portfolio. But all of this sounds very technical, and let me bring it back to the essence, what gold is all about. It is the constant of value. Over the long period of time, gold has maintained its value against every currency. And look at, you just have to look at that chart. And as you can see, gold has maintained its purchasing power of 100, whereas all world major currencies are virtually zero relative to that. In essence, gold has no country. Gold has no photocopying machine or printing press. Gold has absolute integrity and stability. And that is why gold is a legitimate financial asset. So, ladies and gentlemen, to close, we are truly humbled that Ayofi and Amini Associates have allowed us to work with them in putting together the Islamic standards. And we're enormously proud of the outcomes and the potential that this will provide to play an important role to households and investors in Islamic finance, but also potentially to help be a catalyst for the continued enormous growth of Islamic finance worldwide. In many ways, the World Gold Council seeks to make gold mainstream through the actions that we take, and in parallel, I believe that gold may contribute to making Islamic finance mainstream as well. Thank you, and I look forward to the panelists' comments.
Thank you very much for this most informative presentation. It's worth its weight in gold, as they say.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. والآن ننتقل إلى المعقبين، فنبدأ بفضيلة الأستاذ الدكتور عبد الستار أبو غدة، فليتفضل مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أبدأ من حيث انتهى المتحدث، وهو لماذا هيئة المحاسبة تعاونت مع مجلس الذهب. هذه سنة سنها مجمع الفقه الإسلامي الدولي. إذا جاءت قضية طبية يستدعي الأطباء، وإذا جاءت قضية تتعلق بالأهلة يستدعي علماء الفلك، وفي دراسته لقضايا البنوك كان يستحضر كبار البنوك القائمة في السوق. وهذا هو الأصل، لأنه لا بد من تقديم تصور دقيق صحيح حتى يبنى عليه الحكم. هيئة المحاسبة أيضاً مدعوة لاستمرار في هذه الطريقة. يعني مثلاً في المستقبل إذا أردنا أن ندرس عمليات الفرنشايز اللي هو الترخيص التجاري، يجب أن نتصل بشركات كبيرة تقدم هذا المنتج حتى نتعاون معها في تحقيق وإصدار معيار يناسب ذلك. كذلك الBOT، كذلك القضايا الخاصة الفنية يجب أن يكون هناك تعاون بين الشرعيين والفنيين. هذا المعيار مسبوق بقرارات للمجمع، 3 قرارات أصدرها مجمع الفقه الإسلامي في شأن الذهب: تجارة الذهب، شراء الذهب ببطاقة الائتمان، الربط القياسي بالذهب للأجور والاستحقاقات والديون. وقد سبق أن أصدرت هيئة المحاسبة معيار المتاجرة في العملات، وتضمن كثيراً من أحكام الذهب والفضة. أثبتت هذا المعيار الحقيقة حظي بعناية شديدة، حيث إنه قدمت فيه دراسة، ثم عقدت له 3 أو 4 لجان على ما أظن فرعية، وعرض على المجلس الشرعي مرتين، ومع ذلك لا يزال مسودة لأنه يراد تمحيصه وإتقان أمره. لقد حسم هذا المعيار كثيراً من التطبيقات الشائكة، مثلاً التعامل بالذهب في حالة الشيوع، لما يكون شائع سبيكة يملكها 3 أو 4، كيف يتم التعامل فيها، بيعها وشراؤها وقبضها. كذلك ما يتعلق بالذهب المخلوط، لما يختلط الذهب بغيره، ما هو المعيار في ذلك. وعالج هذا المعيار أيضاً كثيراً من التطبيقات، بل إنني أقول، وهذه ملاحظة يعني انتبهت لها، وهي أن أقسام فقه المعاملات ال4 اللي هي المشاركات والمعاوضات والتبرعات والتوثيقات كلها ظهرت في هذا المعيار. تطبيقات الذهب في مجال المعاوضات، في مجال البيع العادي، بيع الصرف، بيع السلم، البيوع الأخرى، هامش الجدية، العربون، كل هذا. كذلك حينما جيء للمشاركات تبين أيضا أنه له مدخل في رأس مال الشركات وفي ربح الشركات وفي تعدين الذهب من قبل الشركات المتخصصة. كذلك حينما جاء للتبرعات تناول قضايا الإعارة، إعارة الذهب، وإقراض الذهب، ووقف الذهب، وهبة الذهب، وإن كان لم تظهر في المعيار لأنها معروفة. كذلك في التوثيقات فقد تناول قضية الحوالة وقضية الكفالة وغيرها من الأمور. إذن هذا المعيار الحقيقة جال في أنحاء فقه المعاملات وبين ما يتعلق بالذهب منها. أخيراً يعني تكلم أيضاً عن أمور عبادية وهي زكاة الذهب، وأحال إلى معيار الزكاة الذي تناول قضية الذهب. أخيراً أريد أن أقول إن الذهب كان وراء تحديد نصاب الزكاة ومقدار الزكاة. نصاب الزكاة أخذه الفقهاء من حديث في 20 مثقالاً من الذهب نصف مثقال. 20 مثقال، المثقال هو ميزان، ووجد في المتاحف مثاقيل موجودة ووزنوها فتبين أنها 4 جرام وربع، فإذا ضربنا 20 ب4 وربع يطلع 85 جرام. هذا هو نصاب الزكاة في التجارة وفي الذهب وفي الفضة وغيرها. مقدار الزكاة نصف مثقال، نصف مثقال على 20، إذن 100 معناتها 5 أنصاف يطلع 2.5. إذن حول الزكاة ومقدار الزكاة. لذلك من أين نأتي إن 2.5% من أين جاءت؟ من هذا الحديث، حديث زكاة الذهب. فأكتفي بهذا لأن يعني أخي الدكتور داود ما شاء الله عليه يعني بين وسلط أضواء كثيرة على المعيار ومشمولاته، ونسأل الله عز وجل التوفيق فيما يأتي من معايير في هذا المجال.
شكرا فضيلة الدكتور. والآن المعقب الثاني الأستاذ رجب محمد حامد، فليتفضل مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في البداية بس حابب أوجه الشكر لهيئة أيوفي مرتين. الشكر الأولاني عشان أنا موجود هنا وحاضر بينكم. الشكر الثاني على أساس معيار الشرعي للذهب يمكن الكل سامعها حاجة عادية، أو ممكن يكون معيار من ضمن المعايير اللي أصدرتها الهيئة، لكن العاملين في المجال اللي شغالين في سوق الذهب سواء تجار أو عملاء أو شركات هيعرفوا قيمة هذا المعيار في تنشيط أو في قطاع الذهب عموما. عندما نتحدث عن معيار شرعي للذهب في سلعة أو في منتج الكل مارس التجارة فيه، يعني أعتقد إن ما فيش حد في الدنيا ما دخلش محل ذهب، ما فيش حد ما اشتراش ذهب. فبالتأكيد إحنا بنتكلم على على منتج أو على سلعة أو على معدن الكل يعرف قيمته. لكن للأسف إحنا من فترة طويلة، من أكثر من 20 سنة أنا في المجال، شايف إن العمل في قطاع الذهب يشوبه الكثير من العيوب، على رأسهم أو سببين مهمين جدا. السبب الأول الجهل أو عدم المعرفة بكثير من الأحكام، بكثير من الأمور التقنية، بكثير من الأمور التجارية. أضف إلى هذا الجانب الآخر الأحكام الشرعية لمعاملات الذهب. الكثير بيحجم عن تجارة الذهب أو الاستثمار في الذهب بسبب بعض الإشاعات أو بسبب بعض الأقاويل. يعني واحد يقول الربا في الذهب، التكنيس، الرهن، مسائل كثيرة مرتبطة بالذهب لا تقارن بتجارة العملات مثلا أو بتجارة العقارات. فالكل عنده استعداد للاستثمار أو التجارة في الذهب، لكن هذه الأقاويل أو هذه الإشاعات أو هذه الأحكام التي لم تجد رابط أو ضابط في السوق المحلي أو في السوق العالمي تجعل الكل يعزف عن الاستثمار في الذهب. لكن عندما نصدر معيار شرعي ملزم لإجراءات وأحكام المعاملات المالية الإسلامية في الذهب، أعتقد ممكن في البداية تشك ان هو لن يكون المعيار الاول او سيعقبه تعديلات وتحسينات، لكن عندما نسمع ان المعيار ده اصدرته الهيئه، وهي اصدرت من قبل 50 او 57 معيار بالتعاون مع اكبر شركه او اكبر هيئه تقنيه، بنتكلم على مجلس الذهب العالمي والمجلس المتحكم في الذهب في العالم. فمعنى كده احنا جمعنا الجانب التقني مع الجانب الشرعي. هل المعيار ده هيكون مفيد للعالم الإسلامي؟ أعتقد سيكون مفيد. دولة مثل السعودية مثلا الاستهلاك خلال الربع الأخير كان حوالي 12 طن. 12 طن لما تقارنها بيساوي إجمالي استهلاك أفريقيا، إجمالي استهلاك أمريكا الجنوبية يعتبر 3/4 استهلاك أوروبا. معنى كده إن في سوق ذهب، في استثمارات في الذهب، بس يلزمها بعض الأحكام الشرعية أو الضوابط الشرعية. من فترة بدأنا نتكلم على الذهب أو نتكلم على سوق الذهب خصوصا من بعد الأزمة، وخصوصا لما ارتفع ارتفاع رهيب. كانت أغلب الأسئلة أو أغلب الاستفسارات عن الأحكام الشرعية للذهب، كيف نتاجر في الذهب كسلعة أو كنقد، والكل بدأ يصدر فتاوي بعيدة عن الوضع التقني، بعيدة عن الوضع الطبيعي. يمكن ذكر فضيلة الشيخ أغلب المسائل اللي ذكرها دي متعلقة بالعميل العادي أو بالمستهلك، فما بالك بالعلاقات ما بين التجار، ما بالك بالعلاقات ما بين الشركات، عملية تسكير الذهب، عملية البيع الفعلي، عملية الاستلام والتسليم. كل دي معايير أعتقد المعيار الشرعي سوف يضبطها. أشكركم.
شكرا للأستاذ رجب. وفيما بقي من وقت وهو قصير نفتح المجال للمداخلات وللأسئلة. تفضل. Tell us your name, please, first.
Suhaib Omar. My question is to you, Dr. Al-Ghari, or to Dr. Abdul Abu Ghudda, either of you. From a Sharia perspective, what is the view on investing in gold as investment? Is it okay to invest in gold as, let's say, in bullion or in gold biscuits? According to the various ahadith, this is how I read it, but maybe you can correct me, that investing in gold as such and not having that money circulated in the economy is not considered to be a good practice as far as Sharia is concerned. But given the 4,000 years history of gold as a store of value, and given what the CEO of World Gold Council have told us, is this a correct understanding of the Sharia that investment in gold is not considered, it may not be haram, but it is not considered to be recommended or something which is good practice, because it hoards the money in one area and it does not let it circulate to the economy. Is this understanding correct? And if it not, please correct me.
Of course, provided that the zakah is paid on this investment, right? Yes. Dr. Abdul.
هذا في من يكنز الذهب. إن الذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقونها في سبيل الله فبشرهم بعذاب أليم. أما الذي يحرك الذهب بإخراج زكاته كل عام، أولاً يتصدق وينفع المجتمع، ثانياً لا يجعله مجمداً، لأنه لو استمر في هذا الإخراج للزكاة على 40 مرة ينفد. فلذلك هذا الزكاة يعني هي تحرك الموضوع في كنز الزكاة. ما أخرج زكاته فليس بكنز، هذا حديث. ما أخرج زكاته فليس بكنز.
شكراً. دكتور غري.
I think
Just a minute, please.
to comment on the question just now, we have seen many central banks of the world and the government of the world, they have invested a lot in gold. They have a lot of reserve because reserve could be in physical gold, could be in US Treasury, could be in some other assets. And it's good to diversify the investment in gold because in many crises of the world, the gold would be very much appealing and flashing enough compared to the other financial assets. So as you can see nowadays, the trend in the world, people are building up the gold reserve. So gold has become a good commodity to keep with you. And as you know, the gold has been correlated to very much to the US dollar, up and down, and it can provide some risk management from that perspective. As long as the Sheikh was saying, you pay zakat of the gold, gold is also an asset by itself, as good as the other tangible asset that we have. It can appreciate, it can depreciate, but this is the nature of asset. Everything depreciate except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has no depreciation whatsoever, but any other asset, it has the tendency to appreciate, and this is the nature of gold. And if the gold has no value in investment, not many government has gone into the reserve to build up their reserve. When they need the money, they can sell off and they can get the money. If you had a financial asset, sometimes wanted to sell off the value of the asset, and sometimes there's no value at all for the financial asset. So this is the matter for the government and for the banks and for you to consider at the end of the day.
Thank you. Please. Your name and question.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sadaqat Khan. I'm from Dubai Islamic Bank. My question is about financing under gold. As per Muraba Standard number 8, Muraba financing against gold and silver and currency is not permitted. So the new standard will cover which type of product for financing the customers, or only specific to the gold traders only, or it will be based on Musharka product or Mudarba based, or which type of product? It is not clear. Thank you.
أضيف أن الذهب الموجود لدى الحكومات ليس فيه زكاة لأنه من المال العام، ليس يعني ناميا. وهذا تكمل لكلام الدكتور داود، يعني الذهب اللي هو الاحتياطي موجود لدى الدولة هذا ليس فيه زكاة لأنه مرصد للمصالح العامة.
أجيب على السؤال الآخر. نعم. يقول أنه you want to answer?
لو نظرنا للاستثمار في الذهب أو طرق التمويل في الذهب في الفترة الأخيرة نلاقي أن الاستثمار في الذهب ليس قاصرا على أفراد ولا شركات، بل تحول إلى بنوك. ولدينا في الكويت أكبر مثال في بنك شغال في الذهب نتيجة هذا الاستثمار. أعتقد الفترة القادمة بعد نزول المعيار الشرعي للذهب، الكثير من الجهات الرسمية وحتى القطاع الخاص والقطاعات الحكومية سوف تمارس التمويل. عيوب البنوك الإسلامية، وأعتقد الكل يدرك ذلك، أن هناك أموال وأرصدة موجودة في هذه البنوك لا تجد طرق للاستثمار. عندما يفتح مجال كاستثمار الذهب، والكل يدرك جيدا أن أهمية هذا الاستثمار وأهميته كمردود. أعطيك مثال، بداية العام كانت قيمة الأونصة 1066 دولار، اليوم ونحن نتحدث قيمة الأونصة مع الانتخابات الأمريكية ارتفعت إلى 1300، نتحدث عن 22%. 22% أرباح في خلال هذه الفترة، أعتقد أكبر جاذب لمزيد من التمويل. مزيد من التمويل حتى إذا توفرت هذه الكميات في صورة أرصدة لدى البنوك، في صورة أموال لتنمية هذا القطاع. ما زال العالم الإسلامي يحتاج لمزيد من التنمية بفتح مزيد من الورش، مزيد من البنوك التي تتعامل. لماذا لا نتعامل في الذهب كأونصة أو كجرام مثل تعاملنا مع الدولار والعملات؟ توجد بنوك متخصصة للصرف والقبض والاستلام وتمويل الورش الصغيرة. هذا المعيار سوف يفتح هذا المجال. السنوات الأخيرة وشاهدناها من بعد الأزمة العالمية، شفنا أن الكل منجذب للاستثمار في الذهب، ليس حبا في الذهب فقط، وإنما أصلا القطاعات الأخرى تعاني، العملات تعاني والبورصات المحلية تعاني.
شكرا.
تطبيق هذا المعيار في العالم الإسلامي سوف يجعل مزيد من التمويل لجميع الاحتياجات الإسلامية.
هو كان سؤاله يتعلق بمسألة المرابحة، فقال أنه حسب المعايير الشرعية لا يجوز التعامل بالذهب على سبيل المرابحة المؤجلة، يقصد طبعا. فكيف يمكن للإنسان، نعم مؤجلة، نعم، فكيف يمكن أن يستطيع الإنسان الاستثمار في الذهب؟ فالجواب أنه لا بد أن يكون نقدا وليس بالمرابحة. نعم، تفضل دكتور.
Yes, I think the standard has approached the topic, and we have distinguished between pure gold and jewelry. Pure gold and jewelry. For the pure gold, a sabaic, it should be spot when it is exchanged for money. It cannot be deferred. It can be murabaha, but it cannot be deferred. Okay, so the spot transaction is a must for the money versus pure gold or sabaic. With regard to jewelry, which is a very interesting position by Ayufi, they have taken a very unprecedented point of view. We allow both perspectives in the jewelry. For some scholars, they might deem jewelry as gold, then they have to follow the ahkam al-zahab, they have to follow the ruling of gold entirely. The standard also allows the Sharia board of the bank to deem jewelry as a commodity. So they can, they will not be obliged to follow the ruling of gold, provided it's a good provision by the Ayufi, which is a congratulation for the Sharia board of Ayufi and the committee. The workmanship of the jewelry should be substantial enough. It cannot be a simple, you put the decoration on the bar, on the gold bar, become jewelry. You have to prove there's a kind of substantial workmanship on the gold to become jewelry. Then you can have the, if you like, payment on deferred payment and muajjal and so on and so forth. Thank you.
شكرا. تفضل.
Just following the question of the brother over there, what we understand from the portfolio standpoint, as an individual, I can have different asset class, and gold can be one. But if I understand his question, if I buy a stock of a company, the stock is of the company, employs people, economic growth, and contributes directly. But the gold itself, when I invest in gold, gold is not producing anything because it's another sort of financial asset. So from that perspective, I just want your opinion. I mean, is it, yes, I understand it's holding, and that is, the government uses central bank reserve and all these things, and I can also have, but aside from that, I mean, if I have the choice between investing in a stock and a gold, shouldn't I invest in stock? I know it's a personal preference, but from a greater perspective, not from legalistic standpoint, from the economic perspective, shouldn't it be better to invest in a stock? That's I understand the question that way. Also, I would like to know your opinion.
This question is addressed to whom?
Any of you?
Is there an investment manager here who can answer this question? Doctor.
Well, I'm not the manager of gold, not yet. You have to see the whole spectrum of investment in gold. Perhaps Aram can help me a bit. We have investment through ETF. We have investment through sukuk. We have investment through gold. We have investment through many other assets. And it can create the whole economy, because gold cannot come to you in front of the table unless you put the money in the mining, in the distribution and the craft or whatever, workmanship and whatnot. So it is about the whole economy. And gold in the Quran is not about, you cannot invest in gold, but you cannot يكنزون. You cannot hold the gold for nothing. You have to pay the zakat to clear that the gold is not a liability. This is the challenge of our mind, because we thought gold is not productive. So we have to show that gold is equally productive, and gold can create employment. Unlike the derivative has no value, but gold has value in the society, employment, production, real economy, from my perspective.
Ahmed.
Imad Ali from City Islamic.
I would add one observation or consideration. This discussion should not be about investing in equities versus gold and vice versa. It is a combination. It is highly productive for households to have an insurance policy that if their house burns down, they can replace it. In that regard, you can consider gold as an insurance policy. No one is advocating, and certainly the World Gold Council is advocating, you hold all your investments in gold. Holding a small portion will increase the risk-weighted return of the investment. And in periods of uncertainty, it is one of the most secure assets. So the argument that it is a non-productive resource, I would challenge, if nothing other than for personal reasons, because I help buy insurance for my car, for my house, for my children's education. And gold plays that type of role as an investment asset. It is the ultimate resource to preserve the value of, the constant of value.
Thank you. Yes, Ahmed.
Yeah, Imad Ali from City Islamic. This question is to Dr. Dawood. Dr. Dawood, in terms of the definition of gold as such, so the new standard, when is it defining gold as a currency, and at what time or what place is it defining it as an asset class or as a commodity, and what are the reasons for this two definitions, and on what parameter they are differentiating between a currency and a commodity?
Yeah, as mentioned just now, I'm here only to take easy question, okay? This is what in many seminar, it's okay. Gold is not a currency at the moment. That's why we have put in the nitaq al-ma'yar, in the scope of the standard will not be talking about any other metal or even a nuqud. So we have exclude the currency from our discussion, because we don't want to give the wrong impression that this goal is to replace the currency of the country. This is not the intention of the standard. Many governments, sometimes they look into our standard, they become afraid, because we are not trying to replace the currency of any government. This is just not commodity, but it's a commodity, silver-based, yellow-based commodity, but it's not a currency. But it has some feature of asamaniya, feature of currency. The features of currency are there, but they are not, gold is not currency in our standard. So it has a bit of currency, a bit of commodity. We mentioned about gold can be leased out, istajar, as zahab, which is not the case in shares, in money, in sukuk. So that's why zahab or gold has a very special feature, which is not 100% gold, 100% currency, or 100% financial asset like sukuk and ashom for that matter. So this is something that we have to put clearly. It's not about gold, it's not about currency, but it is a commodity having some features of currency, which are samaniya. Thank you.
العملات أخذت أحكام الذهب والفضة لأنها يعني حلت محلهما في التداول، وفي كأنها مخزون للقيمة ووسيلة للتبادل. وهذا منذ القديم، يعني حتى هناك مقولة عن سيدنا عمر: لو أن الناس اتخذوا عملات من جلود الإبل لأوجبت فيها الزكاة. ويجب أن نلاحظ بأن العملات اللي هي النقود والذهب والفضة وعروض التجارة وعاء واحد في الحول وفي الزكاة. يعني لذلك لما يكون عندنا أسهم، هذه الأسهم وراءها ذهب وعروض وتجارة، نزكي السهم كأننا زكينا هذا الخلطة الموجودة من العملات اللي هي النقود الورقية أو المعدنية، وكذلك الذهب والفضة وعروض التجارة والصناعة. هذا كله وعاء واحد يعتبر.
شكرا. سؤال واحد باقي، تفضل.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
بالنسبة للذهب هناك مسائل خلافية عميقة، والمشايخ الأفاضل أعلم مني بهذا، وهذه المسائل الخلافية كانت حتى بين صحابة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. فسؤالي كيف استطاعت أيوفي، أو ما هو المنهج الذي اتبعته لتخرج بأحكام واضحة في هذه المسائل؟
يعني هو سؤال الحقيقة واسع جدا. نعم.
تعليق بعد السؤال دكتور. أقول إضافة بعد السؤال هذا.
فسؤال يتعلق ما هو المنهج الذي سار عليه المجلس الشرعي في التوصل إلى هذا المعيار، والحال أن الآراء المتعلقة بالذهب والمعاملات تجب. فهذا سؤال يصعب الإجابة عليه، وخير إجابة عندما الأخ إن شاء الله يطلع على نص المعيار فيستطيع أن يصل إلى الإجابة بنفسه. أعتقد أن الوقت قد شارف على الانتهاء، وعندنا دكتور حامد حفظه الله لديه كلمة قبل أن نختم.
سيد رئيس جزاكم الله خير. حقيقة من مزايا هذه الجلسة والسابقة والتالية أنها جلسات عملية تتعلق مباشرة بعملية تطوير المعيار. فهذا المعيار، معيار الذهب، والمعيار السابق معيار الهيئات الشرعية المركزية، حقيقة في طور الإعداد. هذا المعيار الآن في مراحله الأخيرة، وقد عقدت له يعني قد استنفذ ما لا يقل عن 100 ساعة عمل من اللجنة التابعة للمجلس الشرعي. قد أمضت ما لا يقل عن 6 اجتماعات. المجلس الشرعي أمضى ما مجموعه 5 أيام، كل يوم 7 ساعات. وعقدت 3 جلسات استماع في عمان وفي ماليزيا وفي السودان، وكانت ثرية جدا. نشرت مسودة المعيار على موقع أيوفي منذ قرابة الشهر، ونحن ما زلنا نستقبل هذه الملاحظات والمقترحات والتطبيقات. وسيعقد اجتماع قادم إن شاء الله للجنة الفرعية يوم 12 من هذا الشهر، يعني بعد أيام، يوم السبت القادم، لاستعراض هذه الملاحظات جميعها وتلخيصها، ثم عرضها على المجلس الشرعي يوم 17 من هذا الشهر بحول الله سبحانه وتعالى. فأنا أود في الختام أن أحرص جميع الإخوة على أنه من كان عنده تطبيق، من كان عنده إضافة، ملاحظة، ما زال الوقت إلى 10 من هذا الشهر مفتوحا لإرسال هذه الملاحظات والتعقيبات أو ما يتعلق بها على إيميل الأيوفي شريعة@ayufi.com. وكذلك ما يتعلق بموضوع الجلسة الماضية، قوانين، تطبيقات تتعلق بالهيئات الشرعية المركزية، وما يتعلق بموضوع الجلسة القادمة ألا وهو القيمة العادلة ومحلال الأصول، المعيار المحاسبي الذي سيناقش في الجلسة القادمة. والله أعلم، وجزاكم الله خيرا.
شكرا. وطبعا نحن نحث الإخوة جميعا في من كان عنده سؤال أو ملاحظة أو ما إلى ذلك أن يبعث بها سريعا إلى أيوفي للنظر فيها واستكمال ما يحتاج إليه المعيار حتى يصدر ويكون إن شاء الله مغطيا لجميع المسائل ومجيبا على كل الأسئلة. وفي ختام هذه الجلسة لا يسعني إلا أن أشكر المشاركين والمداخلين، وأشكركم جميعا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الآن نقوم إلى الصلاة إن شاء الله.
جزاكم الله عنا كل خير فضيلة الشيخ. جلسة ما شاء الله شيقة جدا، كانت إدارة ممتازة، بارك الله فيكم. Thank you. سوف نأخذ استراحة إن شاء الله تعالى 15 دقيقة للصلاة، ثم نعود بحول الله تعالى إلى الجلسة السادسة والأخيرة التي هي تحت عنوان القيمة العادلة، اضمحلال الأصول والمخصصات وأثر معيار IFRS 9.